Hello, you Midas Mighty. Harry Litman of Talking Feds here with my reaction to the subpoenas that the Department of Justice have served on Trump White House counsel Pat Cipollone and Deputy White House counsel Patrick Philbin. First, is it a big deal? Yeah, it is a big deal. Imagine who Cipollone and Philbin are. They were the top two lawyers in the office, so they were with him all the time. We know from Cipollone's testimony to the January 6th committee that they both repeatedly told him what he was doing was unlawful. But Cipollone cut a deal with the committee not to say anything that Trump said to him. And the committee, although they would have been on good legal ground to fight that idea, really didn't have the time to do it, took what they could get, and we saw what we did of Cipollone. But imagine what's on the other side, the communications that Cipollone is withholding. They tell him it's illegal. What does he say? Well, we do know first at the end he does everything that's unlawful, notwithstanding, and you have to imagine his responses to them. Cipollone, at one point, we know he called the dumbest, worst lawyer ever, are going to be very, very incriminating. Then there's Cipollone and Philbin themselves. We know from Cipollone's evidence that he basically was fully aware of the illegality of what Trump was doing. Philbin would be the same. In fact, a moment about Philbin, who hasn't been as focused on to date. He is the smartest guy in that office, and he's the most experienced. For those of you who remember the dramatic episode where Jim Comey and people from Justice rushed to the bedside of John Ashcroft to cut off Gonzales, the then Attorney General, trying to get Ashcroft to okay George W. Bush's illegal torture program. Pat Philbin was involved in that and on the good guy side. He is a big conservative, no doubt, but definitely very well respected. He will absolutely tell the truth. And Cipollone knows that too. Not that Cipollone would lie. So assuming they actually testify, it's going to be potentially devastating to Trump. Indeed, I've been assuming that the DOJ has to get somebody big like Mark Meadows to turn on Trump, but it's possible to make a serious case against him just with those two. All right, but will they get it? Really interesting question, because the law is strong that they have every right to it, and any arguments that Cipollone or Philbin could make about executive privilege or attorney-client privilege really can't fly, at least under current law. The D.C. Circuit, which is the big court of appeals in that area, has made it crystal clear in a case involving a deputy White House counsel, Clinton's deputy White House counsel, that basically there is no personal attorney-client privilege, and executive privilege has to yield when it's the executive branch looking into criminal behavior of its own employees, which is, after all, what this is. It's not a separation of powers issue. It's the executive branch, the DOJ, looking into whether there was criminal conduct. So they have a strong case as a department that Cipollone and Philbin have to talk. Now, Cipollone and Philbin might try to play it, they're Washington insiders, they want a future, and maybe they try to play it so that they just have a court order, so they have an excuse for not, ratting out Trump, as it were. And that is the chief judge of the district court there, Beryl Howell, will probably grant something quickly. Or, on the other hand, they could really try to draw it out, litigate to the nines, and delay things. And delay here is starting to matter, because if they can draw things out a few months before they talk, we are getting to a point where we have to calculate not about 2022, but 2024 and a presidential election that, if a Republican wins, could shut down everything. All right, that's their calculation. It'll be pretty interesting, and we should know it soon. My best guess is they'll want some help from a court for cover, but they will talk and talk candidly. But new development here just in the last 12 hours. it's reported by CNN that Trump's lawyers have reached out to DOJ to come in on just this issue. So they see what's going on. They see that Cipollone and Philbin could be revealing this executive, what they think or want to argue is executive privilege material. So they've raced into the prosecutors to meet. Now, prosecutors in that situation will say, sure, come on in. We'll listen to you. They won't be talking. They won't be showing their hand at all. But Trump's folks will be. What can they say? Normally, you come in as a defense attorney, try to give arguments about why the law is problematic for DOJ. They really can't do it here. The law is solid for DOJ, and, you know, there's no, points for, oh, but he was the former president. DOJ doesn't care about that. So what can they say? Maybe they say, look, if you do this, Trump is going to get involved. He can intervene in this and just try to drag it out as much as he can. And that's one of his calling cards, even though he has no basis, just try to, delay things. Or he might be saying something like, hey, yeah, that's the law now, but if I get this to the Supreme Court, where people like Brett Kavanaugh have expressed doubts about some of the executive privilege holdings, I might get another ruling. That could take a year and you lose. So maybe DOJ, let's try to cut a deal where you shield at least some of this executive privilege material. So that's what's going on now. Big development. And why do you want Cipollone and Philbin? Because you're really the inner sanctum here. You're getting all the words that Trump said. It's almost like the White House tapes from the Watergate era, except from the lips of the closest advisors. And what will the advisors do? Will they basically cooperate, or will they try to string it out? And if not, what will Trump do, and what are his lawyers telling him? So that's the basic story, and we'll know more about it over the next week or two. There you have it, Midas Mighty, Harry Litman of Talking Feds. We've got our own YouTube channel now that you can check out. And I'll be giving you these reactions to the big events in the news as they come up. And until the next one, talk to you later.